It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Get the van. We're going for another Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. I don't know how our screens flipped for a brief second there. I don't know how we ended up on opposite sides, but I had to switch it back on the fly. Alan, how we doing?
Good. I didn't get the intro either. I feel like I was robbed of my usual.
Okay, so clearly something happened there during the beginning. That's probably why the screens flipped as well.
Yeah.
But either way, didn't impact it. We could have gone on without a hitch if I didn't even say anything.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm as good without the intro.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you want me to just replay it?
No, I'm just gonna gut it out. I'm gonna be like Jalen Ramsey. Right. And I'm going to understand that I'm not at 100%, but because I love my teammates and I care, I'm dedicated and passionate to my sport, I'm going to go out there and give it my all.
You know, I didn't know how to take that. I was wondering if Tomlin was like taking a shot at me for my podcasting last week and not being 100% attendance. I was like, you know, hearing Mike talk about Jalen, I was like, man, this kind of feels like Alan maybe said something to Mike, and this is a shot at me for not being there a couple days.
I don't think he was talking about you. There are some people in the building that are regular listeners. I have confirmed.
Boy. Okay.
We do have some. I don't know about every day, but there are some. The word gets out. Yeah, I took that as a shot at all of the people who criticized the Steelers for doing what essentially appeared to be collecting an island of misfits this offseason and bringing in Aaron Rodgers and bringing in Jalen Ramsey, two players who their other teams basically said, get lost, we don't want you anymore, and have been absolute citizens with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And honestly, I think Mike Tomlin's kind of flexing a little bit there. I think he's saying, like, you guys said these were bad guys. You guys couldn't. It wasn't them, it was you. You guys couldn't get them to buy into a team concept, and I can. Like, that's what I took from that from Mike Tomlin.
I mean, that makes a hell of a lot more sense than what I said. So I would agree that that's probably actually the way that he was going with it. Alan, we have literally probably everything possible on our plate here to discuss, and there's zero chance that we're going to get to all of it today. But we got a short week here recapping Browns before going into Bengals. You were on post game last night. Shout out to Joe Morrison for doing that with you. Something that he mentioned, you actually ended up giving him a cap tip for him to just pull out the Mike Hilton having a multi-sack game, being the last corner on the fly, throw that out there. Is fantastic, but Jalen Ramsey just mentioned there was the first Steelers defensive back since 2017, Mike Hilton on Christmas, to have a multi-sack game from a defensive back. Not just for that reason, but for all of the reasons, Jalen Ramsey has been absolutely what the doctor ordered on the back end, just lets them get so creative. And I'll be honest, that was kind of my first takeaway from this one. Live viewing, I thought so, but definitely watching it back, I don't know that I'm like, I don't know if I could say, because especially like with my memory and everything like that, I don't know that I would say this was Terrell Austin's best called defensive game, but I felt like he finally had his full slate of players here. And I could say, at least in recent memory, I felt like this was the most creative that they got.
I felt like it was like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy here, but like there was a whole bunch that we weren't seeing that all of a sudden we started to see. And it's like just because he hasn't been doesn't mean he can't. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like some people conflated those two, right? Like early in the season, bunch of new pieces, couple of key injuries, was just trying to take it easy, playing against some bad offenses. They were trying to find their footing. And then, they got banged up a little bit. And now it's like, oh, yeah, they can do all this stuff. And it's like, I think people it's okay to be critical of them for being a bit more vanilla at times, but like there were good reasons for that. And we've seen them be like this in the past with this group. Like there was no reason to think that they couldn't or wouldn't get back there.
And I mean, how much do we talk about Nick Herbig? Like, I feel like every time that this guy plays over 50% of the snaps, he played over 50% of the snaps in this one, played over 60% of the snaps actually in this one. In games where he's played over 50% of the team snaps, he has 7 sacks, 17 QB hits, 6 tackles for loss, and 4 forced fumbles. So if you equate that over a 17-game pace, you're talking 15 sacks, 36 QB hits, 13 tackles for loss, and 9 forced fumbles. I mean, this guy is just putting out those types of numbers on a regular basis. And it's funny that 15 sack number comes up again, because I did the math on this. He gets a sack 2% of the snaps that he plays. If you equate the amount of snaps that he's played this year to the amount of snaps that TJ Watt played in 2021, it's also a 15 sack pace. This just seems to be the pace that Nick Herbig is at when he plays this amount of snaps.
Yeah, and I would hesitate to compare it to Watt because he's doing a very
I just
job.
was looking for the snap count there. Yeah.
But like I think and it wasn't just the pass rush either. We've known he's an elite pass rusher who has just crazy speed and a really deep move set. I think the thing that really stood out to me in this game is how well he played against the run. It was pretty clear from right away that Cleveland was going to try to run against him when he was in there, and it did not work. And I think Cam Hayward played very well too on that side. But man, I thought that was a big difference maker for him in this game. And then how effective in general, whether you want to whether it was Herbig getting there or whoever, when the Steelers were able to put all 3 of those guys out there on the field, it just felt like there were sharks in the water. Like there was, like, you knew something was happening on every play.
Yeah.
And usually it involved Dylan Gabriel getting like pieces torn from his flesh.
My goodness. Yeah, what was it? 16 QB hits, 6 sacks in this one, which I think you were the one that put. It's the most QB hits since when?
Second most ever, but they've only been tracking them since 2000. And then 2020 against the Broncos, they had 19.
Goodness gracious. And Dylan Gabriel, I'm sure, feeling it this morning. We talked about, how small in stature he is for the position and everything like that. Credit to him for. I actually, speaking of bold predictions, my friend John that I was there with, I was like, hey, I'm telling this to you so I can have at least somebody tell that says that I said this. Another prediction I'm going to make right now is we end up seeing Shador today. Didn't end up happening. But
he had his helmet and his chin strap on at one point. So you weren't that far away. I can't believe Dylan Gabriel stayed in the game with the punishment he took. I also can't believe that he didn't throw an interception to Juan. I mean, he put it right in Juan Thornhill's hand. I make the bold prediction. I mean, it hit him directly in the hand.
That's both of us. Juan Thornhill splash play sitting right there.
Yours hit, right? Didn't you have tight ends? Tight end with a touchdown.
Well,
I made you add the touchdown. And you still got it.
Yeah, for sure. But the Thornhill pick, I mean, I would have had pretty much everything. I mean, even 23 points for the Steelers was correct. I was off by 4 total points. The Browns had 9 instead of 13. But very close on the bold predictions across the board there. But I thought there was a good chance of seeing Shador after watching the way that Dylan Gabriel was getting beat up in that one. Offensively, score 23 points, could have been 26. Obviously, Boswell slipping on the surface, which I guess we could bring up here in a little bit when I ask you about what people had to say coming out of this one. But so it's odd when you look at that offensive output and can say that thought they called a pretty good game plan. But I thought they just did a really nice job in understanding the assignment here on the other side of what Cleveland wants to do defensively, staying away from Myles Garrett every time that they were doing like a PA rollout or something. They were going away from him. I know people are going to try to discredit Broderick Jones in this one, and because of the help that he's getting and, the attention that's given to Myles Garrett, that is not just that tackle being left on an island, but I thought he certainly did the job that was required of him. I just thought overall, just a really nice job by this offense, understanding the task at hand.
Yeah, this was the gist of my morning rush today. I talked a lot about how I felt like it was a good plan for this personnel and for this game. I don't think it's a game plan that wins you a lot of games in the playoffs. But I think it was it made a lot of sense to do everything they did to get a win against the Browns, try to get Calvin Austin back, and maybe you can start to be a little bit more dynamic. I really think with the clear opportunity with the division now, it feels like a waste to not at least try to add a wide receiver, even if they can't make full use of them just yet. I feel like they got to find a way to try. Just because, the whole division going over
Again.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just like it's like those three teams are just trying to will the Steelers into a playoff victory, and you should probably let them.
Yeah, they set this down, but also handed the Steelers some lighter fluid. He said, if you want to use this, go ahead. I mean, don't, but it's there. We'll talk about the wide receiver thing in a second, but I kind of wanted to expand upon what you were saying there about the game plan. Just because I was going to ask, do you feel like this is kind of like they're going to treat it like a week-to-week thing? Do you feel like there is like a certain identity that they want to carry over every single week, or do you feel like it's going to be totally opponent-based, how they go into this and attack it?
I think it's going to be a combination of opponent-based and also sort of an echelon like building from what they've done before. So like you saw in Minnesota, they played the 7 offensive linemen package, and they mostly ran out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week you saw them play it, and there was a lot more passing. And like I think the idea is build on the things you've already shown, keep people guessing, and then also tailor it to specifically the opponent. So like structurally, Cleveland and Cincinnati's defenses are very similar. So I don't think they need to go crazy in terms of reinventing the wheel, especially on a short week here. But I do hope to see that some significant furthering of the development of what they've done. You know, like ran the ball very well against Minnesota. Then you added the play action pass, was very effective against Cleveland. We haven't seen that much. Mixed in some deep balls after they got Cleveland in some one eye and got DK Metcalf alone against Tyson Campbell, which I have no idea how Jim Schwartz ever allowed to happen. But like,
yeah,
you know, I think there's like a building process, and how far can they get that? I don't know. I think it depends on the development of the offensive line and their ability to stay healthy, especially where they're thin, like quarterback and wide receiver. But I think there will be games where they look very different. There will be games where like Darnell Washington barely plays and Pat Freiermuth and Johnny Smith are dominating the touches among the tight ends, which will be very different than last week. I absolutely see that. In fact, Mike Tomlin said as much in his press conference today.
Yeah. I think like the wrinkles within it is certainly what I'm looking for. And, you know, right out the bat in this one, obviously the Darnell Washington long reception in this one, talked about DK Metcalf getting loose. He had 4 receptions in this game, over 20 plus yards, the most on Sunday of any receiver in the NFL. But all right, you mentioned the receiver thing. I want to go back to that. Adam Schefter mentioned that the Steelers are still looking for wide receiver help. This same thing could have been put out basically every day since March, whatever, of 2024. But Alan, for whatever reason, going kind of accompanying what you said on the Morning Rush, do you feel like it's maybe a little bit different this time around? I don't know. Do you get the sense that something actually is brewing there on their side of things? Where are we at?
Well, you know, we talked with Carter last week about how I felt like I'm not sure that a second wide receiver is what's going to help this offense right now today. Like they have other problems that they are working through, but it's something that they need for the big picture. And so if they can get a player that will be here beyond 2025, I think they should absolutely do that. If it's just a rental, I don't know how much I see that being something that I'd be super interested in trading draft capital for. Also, we got a comment about like trading Pat Freiermuth. I don't know if you have it up or not. It's not a big deal. But like, I just wanted to very specifically address that. Like, there's not going to be a team that wants to trade away a good receiver, but also wants to trade for a very good, very expensive tight end. Like that team does not exist. Like nobody is like, what we really don't want is our wide receivers, but what we really need is your tight end. Like if you have a team trading away starters, it is in either it has a wide receiver who has just fallen out of favor and they're trying to do him a solid, or they are in full blown on tank mode. And either way, those teams are not going to be the teams that are looking for a Pat Freiermuth by and large. I mean, maybe you could find a very narrow, somebody gets hurt, I guess it's possible. But that's pretty unrealistic. Much more realistic would be to make such a trade for a wide receiver now and then go into the spring, and if they decide they don't have enough draft capital at that point to trade a player like possibly a Pat Freiermuth, an Alex Highsmith, something like that, if they feel like they don't have enough draft capital, or maybe the trading team doesn't want draft capital to move up in the draft, they would rather have a player, that feels more possible at that point.
I mean, Ty Man was he just said trade Pat Freiermuth, but I don't know if you were looking for if there was one that was more expansive than that one. But the other part of that is like, what is he like? Do you have any idea about like the sense, like what his value is right now? Like, I kind of feel like he'd be selling pretty low with what he's done this year. But I also don't know how he's viewed league wide.
I mean, it's not like he's playing poorly. He's just not really being used. I would think you could get a 3rd or 4th round pick for him. Probably 4th round pick for him. I don't know that that's great value. I think I'd just rather have him right now. But now in the offseason, that changes a little bit. Especially a long way to go in this season. I don't expect the way the last 2 weeks went to be the way that every week plays out for Pat Freiermuth. I think there's probably going to be plenty of good days for him in the future.
Cincinnati, a team that he's played pretty well against, has had his best game of his career against. We'll see if he can continue to play well against them on Thursday night, but will certainly be interesting to see how things trend there. All right, let's talk about some of what came out of today, whether it's, I know you talked to some guys, Tomlin speaking on not a Tuesday because of the short week, so he obviously had to speak as well. You already mentioned what he had to say a little bit about Jalen Ramsey, but I don't know about how in depth you want to go with that. There's a lot there. I don't know where you want to start, but I'll just set it up for you that way.
I guess we can start with the injuries. Myles Garrett out this week, significant knee injury. I would expect him to be on the injured reserve at the very least, if not season ending. And Calvin Austin didn't sound overly optimistic about his chances of playing this week. Kind of gave a, we'll see. I would be pretty surprised if he plays this week. Simulated practice report came out just after 4 o'clock, and DNPs for both of those guys, and then a whole bunch of rest, which I always think is very funny. It's like, man, even the fake version of you is too tired to practice. Like, that's when you're real tired. It's like when your avatar needs a break.
When you go to sleep in The Sims.
Yeah, it's just always like comical to me. It's like, what are we doing here? I always want somebody to like craft a narrative. It's like, well, we were gonna set down simulated Aaron Rodgers, but then simulated Aaron Rodgers refused and demanded that he participate in practice. So we went ahead and let him.
He took some simulated smelling salts and was all of a sudden simulated, ready to go. So, all right. Going back to the Cal thing, I know that we've said it so many times on here, but this wasn't, to me, a game where I really expected him back anyway. I think that Packers Sunday night game was really like the first shot for him to have a chance to return, and we'll see if that's the case. Almost like a mini bye after you get through this one here before you have to play the Packers. So we'll see on that front. The funniest thing that came out of Mike Tomlin to me was the Andrew Berry thing, just because I know that there's been a couple times over the last few years where it's like, oh, wow, that kind of goes against what you typically see or hear come out of Mike Tomlin's mouth or whatever, to be like this blunt or whatever. But like to say just, the GM of an AFC North team's name just out loud like that certainly took me by surprise.
Yeah, I think the name drop was the part of it that was real surprising. Just ripping Andrew Berry. Said, "Oh, you must be a lot smarter than me or us, because I don't know why you would take a quarterback who you thought enough of to make your regular season starter and trade him to a division rival." And the implication here from Tomlin is that like no amount of draft capital is worth helping your enemy. It doesn't matter. Mike Tomlin can be like, what we really need right now as a team is a 5th round draft pick. And I could get a 5th round draft pick, but it would also help the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm not going to. That's the mindset he's approaching this from. Also, just what are the, I could, I don't think enough people, I think we've become desensitized to bad football teams doing bad things. And there was a tweet going around from a Cleveland reporter that was outstanding yesterday, and I wish I had grabbed it. It was like, not only is Dylan Gabriel undersized, he's also unathletic and has a bad arm. And I was like, no one in the entire NFL thought Dylan Gabriel was a starting quarterback ever, let alone in his rookie year. This guy was like a 6th-round grade, right? Like, that's what people thought of Dylan Gabriel coming out of the pre-draft process. The Browns overdrafted him by 3 rounds, and then 4 games in, trade Joe Flacco to a divisional opponent so they can play him. For what? Like what? How was Dylan Gabriel getting just relentlessly abused by the Steelers defense helpful to anything other than trying to get the first overall pick? Like, it's just like, I like Andrew Berry. I think he's a good drafting GM. Look, there's a lot of players in this draft class I like. Like, what are they doing? Like, how have they not gotten more criticism for this entire and like, it's funny because all the criticism is just people shouting about Shedeur Sanders when, like, that is one of, like, an entire system of just absolutely mind-blowing moves at the quarterback position.
Well, we were talking about it from the aspect of, like, Deshaun Watson and why they've gotten grace from the Barry Stefanski side for that. And then you have the other side of it where it's this and people giving them maybe the crutch too much for the Watson thing and now giving them just a crutch at the entire position. So it's probably somewhere in the middle there, and it's people having a hard time finding that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you want to, like, whitewash the trading of Deshaun Watson and say, oh, that was the owner's idea, like, just look at the last, like, okay, so they had Jameis Winston. They let him go. They traded for Kenny Pickett. They signed Joe Flacco. They drafted Dylan Gabriel. Then they drafted Shedeur Sanders. They traded away Kenny Pickett. They traded away Joe Flacco. Jameis Winston is probably the best quarterback of all of them. They never attempted to re-sign him, and now he's in New York. Like, overdrafted Dylan Gabriel by 3 rounds. He is not and has never at any point looked like a starting NFL quarterback. I will make this. This is going to be in my column. That's either going to run probably tomorrow morning. Now, I don't know who it's going to be, but Dylan Gabriel will not be playing quarterback when we see the Browns again. That's just completely unsustainable. Like, he is not good. I don't know if it'll be Shedeur. I don't know if
week
Watson
17,
comes
so we got
back. I don't know what it'll be. Heck, it might be like
Bailey Zappi,
somebody who's not even on the team right now. But, like, this can't last. Like, it's and like, I do, like, it is kind of like, if you're like, this is one of the things that Mike Tomlin would just never fathom doing. Like, oh, you have Joe Flacco as your quarterback. All right, he's not great, but it probably won't be like the worst thing for you. No, we're benching him 3 games in so we can start Dylan Gabriel and trading him to the Cincinnati Bengals, who will make much better use of him than we will.
I mean, and we already found out the other part of this too, I think, is there might not be a bigger fan of Joe Flacco than Mike Tomlin. I think if it was up to Tomlin, he's probably going to Canton the way that he talked about him compared to Anthony Richardson.
I mean, has anybody been Joe Flacco's victim more often? I mean, I feel like he only has like an 11-11 record against the Steelers all time, but, like, I just feel like those were really good Steelers teams that Joe Flacco really, I mean, punched above his weight class in handling, especially with all the talent on those Steelers defenses. I mean, he was really a thorn in their side, and so I understand the respect and appreciation. I don't think Joe Flacco was very good when he played for the Colts for the most part last year, but, like, yeah, Mike Tomlin thinks this is real dumb by the Browns. And it's hard to argue that he's wrong. I mean, look how good Flacco was for the Bengals in one game, like, days after arriving.
I mean, and it's not like the Packers have a good pass rush too. I think that was going to be the big question, was how is he going to hold up behind that offensive line and get the ball to those guys. Jamar Chase still unbelievable. And him and Joe Flacco looked like they got on the same page pretty quickly there. We'll see if that continues on Thursday. You talked about bad teams doing bad things. I would say another bad process is always firing either the coach or the GM in different years and never just totally resetting them at the same time. That's what the Tennessee Titans have done again, firing Brian Callahan. And you mentioned, I saw you quote this, and I had the thought in my head, could Artie Smith potentially be a candidate when they do look for a long-term solution there this offseason?
I think he will be a very good candidate. I mean, I don't know if he wants the job, but I think there will be strong consideration to Arthur Smith being a head coach with the Tennessee Titans. He's theirs. Like, they developed him. He was there from 11 to 20. Started out as a quality control coach, worked his way up to offensive coordinator. You know, obviously things were going very well with Vrabel as the head coach when Arthur Smith had that run as OC. He wasn't going to move up any further in Tennessee, made the move to Atlanta. But, like, this is kind of the one that got away for them in many ways. I can absolutely see them badly wanting him as a head coach. And it's hard to argue that he's done anything other than deserve another shot at it. You know, I think I don't know how it's going to go. I'm not going to pretend to be able to see the future, but when you look at what you want out of an offensive coordinator candidate, if you're hiring a retread, someone who went to a place like Atlanta that's never really had much success anyway, and then goes right back to being a coordinator and goes right back to having success, it's like, gee, this guy probably is pretty good. And I don't think that'll be the only place he's a candidate.
Yeah, I agree on that for sure. I mean, not that this is we got to spend much time talking about the Titans or anything like that, but first name that popped in my head is Joe Brady, the Bills OC. I think that they're going to look for somebody that they feel super confident in working with quarterbacks. And I know that, like, Artie has gotten a lot out of quarterbacks that weren't super talented guys in the past. It's kind of been like his thing is almost masking the position, if you will. But I think that spending the first round pick on a quarterback, they're going to look for somebody that more so accentuates that position as opposed to maybe mask what they don't bring to the table. I don't know. We'll see. But it'll be interesting to see there. Had to work that in. I'm curious as to what's because you quoted about this. When I stepped on the field yesterday after the game, first thing that I thought about was how bad the surface was. I wasn't going to be somebody clamoring for there to be changes made to the playing surface or anything at Acrisure Stadium, but I know a lot of people were. Alan, what did we make of that aspect of things?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly not good. Probably the worst I've seen that field since I've been covering the team, since I've been covering either team there. And I don't really have an explanation for it. They got into a pretty good rhythm, I want to say about 10 years ago maybe. Where they went back to the natural grass. They started rotating the sod more frequently. This was scheduled to be the last game on this sod. They started tearing it up right after the game, which is something that we see, all the time. Like I said, 3, 4, 5 times a year. And it just seems like it's a weird confluence of events. They got to a point, like, they had to get 7 games in on that grass. I guess theoretically they could have changed it after 3 and gone with new grass for the Steelers' home opener. But 3 sort of feels like unnecessarily early, feel like you should be able to get more than 3, but they couldn't get through 7 when they have in the past. It's not like that's some kind of stretch to say that you get 7 games on the grass. One of the players I talked to today suggested that, like, a lot of players are wearing a different kind of cleat now that he feels like maybe tears up the grass a little bit. And so maybe, like, the sort of old math needs to be adjusted in how long turf lasts with more of these players, and especially linemen, wearing, like, these kind of new school cleats instead of the old school, like, 7-stud kind of deals. And so that was a theory from a player. I don't know, Broderick Jones theorized that maybe the Steelers thought it would be in their advantage to play on the older, grubbier turf. I don't know if I buy that. But yeah, there's not a lot that can be done. Like, even if they recognize that, like, the turf is no good, you can't put it in and then play on it. It needs time to grow once you install it. That's why they're putting it in now with both Pitt and the Steelers away this weekend, that'll give that grass 2 weeks before Pitt will play on it first. They have a home game on the 25th.
Yeah,
and then
back-to-back days. Mm-hmm.
Steelers on the 26th on Sunday Night Football. And if you put it in and you immediately play on it, you just chew it up, and then you've ruined that turf, and it won't ever recover. And it's not like you can go buy more. Like, they have to order their turf like a year out to get it from a specialty grower in New Jersey. And so, somebody got something wrong. I don't know what it was. This is grass that should have lasted this long. It didn't. I don't know how or why it didn't. I'm sure they're trying to figure that out right now. But, like, the die is cast. Like, even if after the last Pitt game they had come together and said, "Man, this grass is in really bad shape," there's not a whole heck of a lot they can do at that point. You just kind of have to play it out and wait until you can change it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that was the worst that I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it in not great shape before, but not to this degree. That's why I don't know if I'd use the word anomaly, but I just kind of chalk it up as like, this isn't going to happen. It's not going to be like this again. And it is what it is.
Anomaly is a good word for it. I've never seen it like that. I don't know if it was because it was so dry this September. Maybe they needed to water it more. I don't know. It could have just been like the cleat thing. I don't. Well, for whatever reason.
Who's the grounds crew for this? Let's get them on the podcast.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm sure that request will get shot down, but I will make it.
I mean, especially right now, they're probably like, oh, they just want to throw them into the fire with the way that that surface.
Yeah, 100% not getting the grounds crew right now. But like in general, Steelers grass is fine. I know people like have PTSD from the old days when they really did struggle to figure it out. But I would say for the last decade at least, maybe more, the Steelers grass has been generally not a problem, and nobody involved wants turf, and that's really the only other option for them. They have a very strange situation with the amount of use that field gets between them and Pitt and the Whitfield Championship games. End up playing upwards of 20 games on it some years. And in a northern climate, there's nobody else doing that. And so it's a unique situation, and something went wrong here, but I don't think it's any major indictment of anything or anyone.
Alan, we're already over 30 minutes, but we're going to have to go a little bit longer because I got to ask you something because I'm not sure if it's going to still be relevant by the time we get to here tomorrow. You mentioned that you talked to Broderick and Joey today. I'm not sure if whatever they had to say would still be relevant tomorrow, so I got to ask you now what they had to say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Joey for sure is relevant tomorrow. In fact, we'll shelf that whole conversation. Broderick Jones talked mostly about, his game against Myles Garrett. And interestingly enough, he said that he felt like he wasn't happy coming off the field. Even though he generally kept Myles Garrett at bay, he felt like there was one rep late in the game that he felt like he kind of let his foot off the gas when they were way up that was bothering him. And I feel like that's and just the way he kind of talked about it, he's like, I can't have those. It's like you can't take any plays off in the NFL. Like you have to have 100 all the way. I feel like that's a real, I don't want to say like, I just feel like that's a lesson that's been learned. Where there's like some real.
Yeah, I don't know that 2024 Broderick is saying that same thing.
Yeah, certainly not like rookie year, right? Like where it's like, and when he was talking about Trey Hendrickson, he was talking about how like he has a real relentless motor. It's like you have to block him to the whistle, like because he's going to keep going to the whistle, and if you. Yeah, I was just kind of saying like that's how Trey Hendrickson gets his sacks is that he kind of like lulls people. Not lulls, maybe is the wrong word, but like he just out efforts people. And I don't know that. Like, I don't think I would say Broderick has had bad effort, but I would just say like the focus on consistency has not necessarily been one of his strengths, and it sort of sounds like he's taking ownership of that.
Wow. Yeah, interesting. I think that's growth I mean, that's certainly involved in the player side of things too, but like a lot of that I think is off field stuff as well. You said he wasn't feeling too happy about that at the end of the game. I tell you what, he was certainly happy about. Saw him on the field afterwards. Man, was he loving Calvin Anderson and his wife had matching suits. I don't know if you saw Calvin in his suits after the game or not, but he had just won Steelers style, whatever thing that they do. And he was on the field after the game with his wife, and they had matching suits that were very, I mean, interesting for sure. I don't know if they were like supposed to be like snake, kind of given that vibe. I'm sure there's going to be pictures out there if there aren't already, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe that. It was a gray, but that doesn't even begin to describe what it was.
No.
Like all pattern, head to toe, with like black trim at the bottom that kind of made it look like he was floating while he was walking. There were many comments in the locker room about Calvin Austin's fit, and I believe that Pat Meyer said, "I don't know if I could pull that off," and I said, "Pat, I know I can pull that off."
Yeah, it's not like, yeah, it wasn't like snake print or something. It was like, there was like flowers and stuff on it, and
kind of pattern. Yeah.
There was a lot going on with it. Anyways, there'll be a lot more discussed on here over the coming days, but not too many days before we get to Thursday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. But Alan, until tomorrow, tell the people they can find you.
A Saunders PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now sites account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus and get all the best content from me, DB, Brendan Howe, the rest of the Steelers Now team, and an ad-free experience over there at SteelersNow.com as well. And of course, like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel as we continue to grow this show and all the rest of our shows to a bigger and bigger audience. We love all of you guys that subscribe, and that number just keeps going up every day. I feel like we get big jumps over the weekend too. Where are we at now, Smitty?
What a nice looking number that this is, 16,850 exactly. So, I know that we always go with our beloved E-Rob. There's some good ones in there though. Shazier, Foot, Malik Harrison's wearing it right now.
Earl the Hitman Holmes.
Oh, okay. And why do I feel like I'm forgetting I'm looking this up because I feel like I'm forgetting somebody significant. Maybe I'm not. Somebody's typing away in the comments right now. No, I don't think I'm really forgetting anybody significant. This doesn't look like. Who in the world is Rocky? Is that
Rocky Boyman? Yeah,
Boyman.
Rocky Boyman. He had been with the Titans. He came over and played a few games. Was mostly a special teamer. Yeah, Rocky Boyman. There was a there's another one. Now let me think about this. There's another like kickoff coverage kind of linebacker that wore 50. I want to say maybe in the 90s or the early 2000s.
Okay. Well, I tell you, there's somebody wore it from 81 to 92. So
that's David Little. Now he was a very good linebacker. He was a really good starter.
Okay, so then after somebody wore it in 93, and then nobody wore it until 2009 when it was Rocky Boyman.
Well, Earl Holmes had to be in there somewhere.
Oh wait, no, Larry Foote. Sorry, 02 to 13 as well.
Yeah.
So how did Rocky Boyman? Okay, I don't know. Interesting how these numbers.
Who wore it in 93?
Reggie Barnes.
Yeah, there you go. That's not who I was thinking of. Maybe it was a different number. I'll have to go back and look.
Daryl Knox.
No, I have no recollection of him.
Okay. Yeah, it says 87. But again, as we talked about here.
Strike year player.
Oh, okay. There we go. These numbers are interesting sometimes. Anyways, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. As Alan said, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, we are there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok. And then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.